Well, what is going on, everybody? Just like the title says, my hunting season 2020. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't film much of it or any of it. I filmed a little, but nothing really worth releasing. So I've always been in love with the whole hunting aspect, and I'm probably gonna do more in the future with the filming side of it too. This year I just really got back into it, kind of full steam. I was lucky enough to draw an antelope tag, a mule deer tag, and of course I can buy an over-the-counter whitetail tag. So my season started off with my antelope, which I headed out west for. I was able to harvest this animal right here. My friend Reese came out with me for a day. We did some scouting, some looking around, found an area that I was liking, got a bunch of antelope in the area, got some permission, and we found this buck the night before, and I actually had a shot at it, and I shot high. Shot over top of it. It was pretty far. It was like 300, I think it was 315 or 350. Can't remember exactly, but I shot high. And the next day I relocated the buck again and was able to kind of sneak out into a field where I thought he was going to come across, and I laid down there for about 15-20 minutes, and yeah, he come over top of a hill, and I was able to make a shot and went down right there and harvest my first antelope ever. Hopefully going to get drawn again in the future. Obviously it could take a long time to draw an antelope tag here in Saskatchewan, but I did do that. Next was supposed to be the mule deer, and I had an unfortunate incident. That day I was shooting my antelope. I actually ruptured a bicep muscle. I know, right? I ruptured a bicep muscle or a tendon. Well, no, I'm still waiting to talk with an orthopedic surgeon to see if I need surgery or whether it's just going to be physical therapy. But I panicked and I came home because I was in pretty bad pain and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And now I'm okay. I still got I got a long ways to go, but it's not stopping me from doing things I want to do. But anyways, I didn't hunt the mule deer tag, which sucked because it takes like 4 or 5 years to draw a mule deer tag. Some guys even longer. I was very fortunate to draw 2 tags in the last 4 years or 5 years, I guess it is. So fingers crossed that I'll get drawn for another mule deer tag again in the future and be more set up for the whole hunting of it. First off, anybody that films their own hunting, all the power to you. It seems a lot harder than the fishing side of it. Like, I mean a lot. But now I'm back home, or I was back home, still home obviously, but where my story's going is I got back home and I got into the whole whitetail push. It was just in my head like crazy. So I got a bunch of cameras out, property that we own and some friends, and allocated some permission from some people to do some hunting on there. And I had a deer come around. You know what? I'll go back to a deer from last year that I was hoping was going to come back. This deer had made an appearance last year for quite a long time, and I chose not to hunt him just because I wanted to give him one more year. He's a beautiful deer, don't get me wrong. He's probably like 180-inch deer, but I felt like he was young, and I was really just hoping he was going to come back this year, and I was really going to push for him. I didn't see him on the trail camera at all this year. I had pictures of him, video of him, obviously, like I just showed you, and I didn't see him at all this year. So is he gone? Possibly. But I have hope for him, and this is because 2 years ago, I found this buck, and he was a decent deer. He's a 5x5 with 2 kickers off of his a kicker off both of his G2s type of thing, so double kickers. And again, I figured he was pretty young, and that's going back 2 years now. And last year, he vanished completely. Never saw him at all. This year, fast forward, I found him again. He made a mistake one night. He had caught him out in a field before the hunting season, before the rifle season. He was with a doe, and I was like, I know that deer. So it was only probably about 3-4 miles away from where I had found him earlier, but I thought he had disappeared, obviously. Went and got some permission from there, got the trail camera out, and wouldn't you know it, 2 days later, I get this photo of him. And I'm like, okay, this is the deer that I want to hunt for sure. I'm going to dedicate my time to him. I set up a blind. I ended up moving the blind a couple times once I got familiar with the area more, because it was a new area that I was hunting. So once I was watching the deer pattern throughout the day, the first couple of days of hunting, I wasn't happy where I was. I think on the 6th or 7th day, he comes in, but 5 minutes before legal shooting time. And I remember putting up the scope and the rifle and having a tough time finding him in the scope, and I wasn't going to shoot him yet. I was going to wait for legal time, but just kind of line him up. I was having a tough time kind of finding him. And I remember kind of pushing my bipod up against the blind a little bit, and I made a little bit of noise. And this photo right here, you can see he's clearly looking right at the blind. That hurt a lot. So he took off before the legal light with a doe there. I don't think I super spooked him, because there was a smaller buck that stuck around there, and he wasn't obviously too scared. He was still kicking around. So I didn't think I really pushed him out of there, but I wasn't sure if I was going to get him back. So I'll go through a couple more deer too, because where the story is going, of deer that were in the area. One here is a 4x4 with kickers off of both sides. He was a deer from last year that I consider hunting. Super even, had double kickers off each of his G2s, just like kind of like that 5x5, so some genetics in my area. Never saw him at all this year. But entered another deer that I call the home buck, because he's on our home quarter all the time, hangs out, and I have experience with him last year too. He's a little bit smaller. He grew lots this year. I saw him in the daylight a couple times, actually right behind the house before the hunting season. I had my eye on him a little bit, but there was another 4x4 kicking around that I thought maybe just a little bit bigger, and I'd like to give that home buck one more year, because I figure that he had potential to go even bigger next year, a little bit more width, mass. But enter this deer, like I said, that a beautiful, clean 4x4. Long main beams, high, not a giant. I figured him to be like a low 140-inch deer. And he was on the hit list. And this is actually before I had found that the big buck that I wanted to hunt, he was going to be the hit deer for this year. He was going to be on my list. Straight nocturnal deer, haven't had him in the daylight at all. All of a sudden, about probably 2 days before hunting season, I caught him in the daylight again, and then enter hunting season, he goes pretty nocturnal again. Hadn't seen him around anywhere. We've got lots of road hunters in our area, and it's pretty bad at people driving up and down the roads all the time, especially even where my blind is. It's quite irritating in that sense, because you're trying to accomplish something there that's genuine and fun, where you're sitting in a blind and deer coming to you, and you just got these guys just driving up and down a road. Anyway, I won't get started on the whole road hunters. If you got to do it, you got to do it, but there's other ways to do it. And yeah, so this 4x4, we busted him out one day in another field when I was just going in to check trail cameras, and I was like, geez, he hasn't been in this field at all. And there he is, this 4x4, and he's a very, very nice deer. But still, I wanted to wait. So that whole sequence that I talked about earlier with the big deer came in and didn't have proper light for him, had to pass for him, decided just to keep going where I saw this big deer, and we actually moved my blind again to something where I was going to feel super confident, 150 yards from where I felt they were going to come through. Yes, I was baiting him as well there, and it's mostly just to get trail cam photos of him more than anything, to have him come and stop there. But in Saskatchewan, you are allowed to bait. And there's about 2 days left in hunting season, and in walks the 4x4, super clean deer. I made the decision right then, you know what, this is the deer that I'm going to harvest. And while this happened, if there's no blood or anything like that in this video, but if you don't want to see a deer dying, skip to the next 15 seconds, because I have this trail cam footage actually of the deer coming into my blind, and all of a sudden you can see I shot him. He turned around, he tried to get up, he decided he was not going to make it, obviously, and he put his head down, and that was it. So it was a super fast, clean kill of the deer. I'm super excited because they're going to have sausage, fresh sausage this year. I've got back straps and tenderloin. I'm going to actually cook up the tenderloin on my next ice fishing trip, which I've been packed up for here, and I'm heading out for to do some overnight camping on the ice. So that video will be coming soon. But this is just kind of a short video of my hunting season. I let you guys down in the whole filming on the hunting side of it. I'm going to do more eventually. So I know it's a little bit different a video, lots of pictures of the whole hunting thing, the whole season of the trail cam photos and whatnot, but we'll do it more. I got to finish packing now to go camping on the ice and try to go slam some big walleyes. So thank you so much, everybody. Lots of videos to come. Get outside.